Well, everyone, please keep eating your dessert, and I just want to be respectful of those who are trying to tune in, and so Taylor is going to kind of bring up the stream and get us started here. So I trust that your dinner was good. It was good dinner and good fellowship. And you know, we will never ever again. One of the beautiful silver linings of this last year, at least for me, and I think for all of us, has been you really understand how important it is and what a privilege it is to be able to be in a community of people with shared purpose and shared vision. And so I don't think we'll ever take events like this for granted again, and we shouldn't. We shouldn't, because it is. Every day is a gift, and the privilege of serving in this way and being a part of the lives of young people is really a spectacular, wonderful thing. Now, Chairman Clappity and I were talking earlier today, and this is the 25th year, I believe That
is correct.
But there was 1 year. There's been 2 years when we haven't had it. The second time was last year, and the first time was in the late 1999, did you tell?
Then that makes this the 24th.
So this is the 24th, okay. Yeah. So those were some challenging times, and we ended up not having this event because of that. And last year, of course, was last year, and it's in the past. So we're not going to talk about that anymore. But we are going to talk about and begin talking about tonight, two people that we honored last year for this wonderful award. And I'd like to introduce them to all of you this evening. So Dr. Ken Turner received the 2020 John Knox Coit Prize for Excellence in Teaching and Advising. And I wanted to preface what I was going to say about all of these remarks tonight. We try to write these remarks based upon the nominations that come in, and I learned some very interesting things about Ken, and I'm not going to talk about those. They're wonderful things, but these remarks that we share for all of our awardees just don't do justice to the kind of people they really are. And I will try to reflect a little bit of that, but these are just outstanding human beings, and we are so fortunate to be able to share in this work together. So Dr. Turner received the John Knox Coit Prize last year. Those who know Professor Turner experience him as a kind, gentle, and extremely bright colleague. He's always there, meaning he is there for you and here for our students. Over and over again, students indicated that Dr. Turner made time for them. That kind of care transfers, I believe, to a student's educational experience and to their formation as a maturing adult. Several students mentioned how Dr. Turner was consistently reminding them to stay engaged in other aspects of campus life, including campus ministry, and how he would personally check in during every class. He's demanding with his expectations as Associate Professor of Science Education, and he goes the extra mile in serving the university community as a mentor, guide for summer scholars, and friend. And there's much more to say. Teaching and working at UD requires a lot of its faculty and professional staff members. It really does. And this year is just exemplar of that demand. Dr. Turner has ably met that challenge and has given back even more. So friends, it's my privilege to present to you the recipient of the 2020 John Knox Coit Prize, Dr. Ken Turner. How are we going to do this?
Let me set this down here. Is that going to be okay?
You take this when you leave.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those kind words. I'll begin by thanking William and Richard Cerluga, Ruth Cerluga, President Bullock, trustees, administrative council, colleagues, friends, and family. Looking around, I'm more than a little nervous. My classroom only sleeps 24. Today I've decided to share my love of teaching with you. My topic is, what is teaching like? That's a lot to ask for a Thursday evening in April. So what is teaching like? What experiences might we have in common that we could build our analogy from? This sounds more like a problem for a communications expert, Dr. Yardley. Teaching is like wearing a tie-dye lab coat. You need to be simultaneously serious and whimsical. Teaching is like riding a unicycle. It requires a lot of balance. Teaching is like making a chai tea latte. You know what you want, but it doesn't always turn out that way. Teaching is like walking across a frozen lake. It may look safe, but beware of the open water. Teaching is like making pizza. The individual parts will come together in a synergy of flavors that are so much more than the individual parts. Teaching is like synthesizing nylon. You wondered where I was going with that, right? There are many ways to make that polymer, but they all involve some danger. Teaching is like playing the drums. There's a lot of noise. It sounds like chaos. But when you blend it with a few other musicians, the order within the chaos will emerge, and it may make something beautiful. Teaching is like doing triathlons. If you're going to have any success, you'll need years of preparation. And there are plenty of days when I go home feeling as though I had just finished a triathlon. Same brutal exhaustion, same extreme euphoria, a few less calories burned. Teaching is like raising children. Every day is full of challenges and joy. And even when it's not going great, we still look back on it with joy. And day by day, a new life emerges. Teaching is like all those things. But that is not the takeaway. No, it's not. Turner said everything was like teaching. It's not that. But what is teaching? Teaching is an art. It is science. It is creative. It's analytical. It is exasperating and exhilarating, exhausting and exciting. In almost the same moment, a teacher can experience intense frustration, followed by the joy of an aha moment from his students. Teaching demands excellent preparation, yet it shines brightest at the most spontaneous instant. So Turner, where's the analogy going? I would say teaching is when many are sowing into our field of students. The custodians have cleaned, the maintenance folks have repaired, the electric bill was paid, the lights are on. Some of us paid to build the buildings, and some have worked tirelessly to bring the students. This sowing began in 1852. Many, many people have worked hard to sow into our field of students today. Some of those students chose to be in my classroom, and I spent more than 40 years of preparation to build a lesson for them today. All of this in the hope of sowing into our classrooms, into our students. We have all sowed into these students. So my analogy within an analogy becomes this. We have all chosen together to sow into this community so that our students might reap a harvest. We are sowing from our many gifts and with one spirit. There's a reason I brought this up here. So it is with great joy that we come together tonight. We have sown into this community. Let us all raise a glass to this community, this University of Dubuque, and celebrate what our students may reap. To our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. I was remiss in not welcoming Dick Sverluga, who I know is watching from Spokane, Washington, through the internet. And so, Dick, we're happy that you and Sandy can hear this and be a part of us through this wonderful technology. There are parts of technology I like. This is one of them. Social media isn't one of them, but that's another story. The 2020 William L. Lomax Award. Reverend Dr. Beth Lindquist McCall received the William L. Lomax Award for Excellence in Teaching and Advising in 2020. Dr. McCall has served the University of Dubuque Theological Seminary as both a pastor to seminary students and professor of pastoral care and ministry. It is safe to say that we all experience Beth as a kind, gentle, and an extremely bright colleague. Students experience her as one who has been in the trenches of pastoral ministry and who brings a wealth of insight and personal experience into the classroom setting. Ministry is hard. It's difficult and very lonely work at times. And yes, Dr. McCall helps students to remember that it's also an enormous privilege to care and to serve. To that end, one student wrote, Dr. McCall is privy to the most intimate details of our lives. When a student's in crisis, she's there, and will even travel to meet the student's needs at a distance when necessary. She's confidential and respectful, and we know that she cares about us. She attends our ordinations, proofreads our faith statements, serves as a reference, and is an overall joy to be around. Friends, it's my privilege to present to you the recipient of the 2020 William L. Lomax Award, the Reverend Dr. Beth Lindquist McCall.
Friends, how good it is to feast in our hybrid fashion with cherished faculty, staff, colleagues, friends, trustees, family, with thanks to the Sverluga family, having a vision, Mr. Sverluga, to years ago create time and space for us to celebrate, to cherish the vocation of teaching. It's a peculiar thing to have had a year between learning about this and being able to gather tonight. In April of 2020, many of us did not feel that we were at our peak of creative teaching, though perhaps maybe we were. I was Zooming with beleaguered pastoral care students, and every topic was electrifying in personal application, trauma, grief, self-care. Week after week they were unfolding, and it seemed like I was just trying to help students get through the semester as their immediate contexts were crumbling. But since then, I'm seeing afresh teaching as equipping our students to be resilient and responsive in the very moments of life that have been illustrated by this pandemic. And so this year, in this intervening year, I've been encouraged to actually refashion syllabi with that perspective. A second interesting thing happened since learning about this award, and I don't know who nominated me, but it is a lovely thing to walk about campus every day with the suspicion that anyone whom you meet might be secretly harboring goodwill toward you. And so I have looked around with real keen appreciation for the camaraderie that we have in the UD community. So those are a couple of blessings, and I'll briefly mention just a few more that I want to lift up with gratitude about teaching. I am thankful for my actuary father, who's here tonight, who taught me what a Google and a Mew were before the time I started first grade. And he also taught me how to roller skate and get back up over and over again around that rink for hours. And my mother here tonight taught me how to cook Swedish and German and Mexican foods, but more importantly, how to exercise sacred hospitality, which is actually a beautiful metaphor for what ministry is. And I will forever remember that time, that moment when I was tempted to hang up my ballet toe shoes, and she told me with fierce earnestness, anything you learn truly can never be taken away from you. Together, my parents taught me to pray, how to receive communion, and that when you are literally in over your head and approaching the rapids, you should go in feet first. My teacher husband has been a terrific partner in a passion for education, and our poor children have nearly always known for their lives that one or the other of us has been in school working on a graduate or a doctoral degree, 2 of them done at UD. And in turn, lifting up for them life lessons, even in our family Friday movie nights. Until one night the kids rebelled and said, "No more movies with subtitles or animals." And unfortunately, for that week, I had the Dutch film Winky's Horse, which is a touching exploration of dislocation, longing, crossing cultures, and grief. And in desperation, I told them that the selection that night was Winky the Death Horse. And that wasn't a complete lie because, spoiler here, Winky the horse does die in this story. And we are still rebuilding trust over that. But thank you, Bob and Tim and Ava, for your patience and your father and I always finding the moral or the sermon in endless life prompts. I am so thankful for the luxury of getting to spend my day job among incredible colleagues. It was my fellow faculty and staff members and Dean Longfield who urged me to create courses around unique and useful topics, and to apply for one of the Calapity chairs to develop resources that fill a gap. Where else are you paid and supervised with insistence that you must pursue your chosen discipline passionately and read and write and lead and serve there? How rich to have the WENT, interdisciplinary faculty book groups and writing group, in which to share insights about forming hearts and minds. To have people like Bonnie Sue Lewis to guide me on interfaith community, and Phyllis Garfield to share inhospitable ministry to UD's international community. And they are each breaking my heart about retiring, but none of us can begrudge these beautiful souls anything good. How rich that we should go about our days here in the UD community, where lectures and concerts and vigils and competitions and acts of justice and compassion and worship are part of what we do. This is what we do. As many wise people have observed in various words, the honest pursuit of truth leads us toward nothing less than God. Thank you to President Bullock and to Deans Ward and Huizinga for creating an environment in which I've had support in my field, being a literal field of engagement, worship services, and cross-cultural mission trips with students, and a field of churches and pastors in western Montana. And finally, I am thankful for the holy trust from God represented in our call to teach. Is it not incredible, friends, that people drop what they are doing in life, and they leave their homes, and they move here, and they work hard, and they take out loans, and they pay money, and they exercise trust to come to us and ask, what do you think is most beautiful and significant and important in this big world? And can I join you in exploring this and answering this? And then we have the privilege of watching them set out to be salt and light, and we are able to say, I knew him when, I've known her since. Thanks be to God for this call that we share.
I think you took my papers. Yep. I think you have two more. That actually happened once when I was trying to give a sermon, and the liturgist before me was a confirmation student, and I went to give my sermon, it was gone. And I'm like, this is not a good experience. Well, now we're moving to 2021. And we're back to the John Knox Coit Prize. Dr. Franklin Yardy is the 2021 John Knox Coit Prize recipient for excellence in teaching and advising. As an associate professor of communication, Dr. Yardy focuses on advanced areas related to social media. I like your social media. It's the other social media, folks, yeah. You actually do it right. Related to social media and specifically its effects on globalization. In addition to his teaching responsibilities, Professor Yardy maintains a rigorous publishing agenda. However, without a doubt, one theme that emerged from nominations made by students was his approachability. No matter the time of day, one colleague wrote, you are likely to see Dr. Yardy on campus, whether he's grading papers, meeting with advisees, or challenging a student to a game of ping pong. He is thoroughly engaged in our campus community. You know, if all there were to education was transferring information from one brain into another brain, well, it would be a fairly easy proposition. But at places like the University of Dubuque, education, as you've heard, is about far more than transferring information. It's about forming the whole person, their minds and intellect, their hearts and character, their religious foundation and moral compass. We are a better faith-based community of teaching and learning because of the individuals who are being recognized this evening. And one of those exceptional leaders is Professor Yardy. Friends, it's my privilege to present to you the recipient of the 2021 John Knox Coit Prize for Excellence in Teaching and Advising, Dr. Franklin Yardy. What's that?
Thank you, President Bullock, for your gracious introduction. Who is so foolishly curious to send their child to school in order to learn what the teacher thinks? But all those disciplines that teachers claim to teach, even those of virtue and wisdom, they explain with words. Then those who are called students consider within themselves whether what was said is true, each consulting that inner truth according to their own ability. They praise their teachers, not realizing that Even if the teachers knew what they were saying, the praise rightly belongs to the taught ones, not the ones who taught. Now, this is what theologian and philosopher said to his 18-year-old son, Adeodatus, in their dialogue, which was transposed into his treatise on the teacher, De Magistro. St. Augustine eloquently delineated here the limitations of the teacher and at the same time suggested the role of the teacher to guide, inspire, and support students in their individual quest for truth and knowledge. So I stand here before you today to first thank the loving God for having granted me the honor to embark on my teaching journey at the University of Dubuque. Pray that God further guides my steps on this mission so that I may be able to fulfill my role as a teacher. To our generous benefactors, a big thank you. To President Bullock, the Board of Trustees, fellow faculty, distinguished guests and family, I am elated but humble for this honor. Thank you so much. To Doctors Annalie and Mark Ward and the Wendt Center, I am truly grateful for your continuous support. To my current and past students, my colleagues, Dr. John Heyman, Dr. Jan Supel, Dr. Michelle Grace, and Professor Sue-Ann Marino, thank you for creating an affirming communication climate within which I thrive. You are all the reason why I am standing here tonight. To my students, thank you for sharing your stories, your knowledge, and the fragments of your lives with me. To my past advisors, Dr. Bala Musa, Dr. Radhika Gajala, and Dr. David Worley, thank you for your indelible influence on my academic career. To the love of my life, Crystal, I am blessed with your graceful and encouraging presence in my life and the two energetic boys God has granted us. To my mother, Na Afoko Umedro, Katamanso Warrior Queen. Ma, you are the greatest teacher I know, and I know she's watching. I am forever indebted to your patience in raising me and educating me on all the values that I strive to emulate. You have taught me so much. To my dad, who's no more here with us, thank you for exemplifying what hard work looks like. And Mr. and Mrs. DeMarco, thank you for your support tonight. Teaching for me is a symbiotic process. I learn from my students who are filled with knowledge and passion. They sharpen me, and I also attempt to do the same. We all learn from our mistakes, and I'm definitely no exception. I continue to explore ways to become a better educator and an advisor. In my teaching, I also take inspiration from Brazilian educator and philosopher Paulo Freire's vision of education. And I thus strive to foster a genuinely collaborative, dialogic learning environment where students become critical co-investigators in dialogue with the instructor, where they become more responsible, more motivated to learn, and more self-confident. Thank you for honoring me tonight, and I continue to appreciate the opportunity to serve our students and the University of Dubuque. Thank you.
Franklin didn't take my notes. Okay, let me see where, oriented here. There we are. The 2021 William L. Lomax Award. Dr. Kelly Grusendorf, Associate Professor of Biology, is the 2021 recipient of the William L. Lomax Award for Excellence in Teaching and Advising. Dr. Grusendorf is an impressive teacher and scholar. She teaches courses in biology, anatomy, and physiology, and she manages with great respect our cadaver lab, all in addition to her research agenda in cell biology, Lyme's disease, and other areas related to biomedicine. Most recently, one of Dr. Grusendorf's Kalapati Scholar students was accepted into the prestigious University of Iowa Summer Pre-Med PhD program. In fact, he'll be going this summer, yes? Her research in biomedicine, and specifically her collaboration with the University of Iowa's Carver College of Medicine, has helped to prepare many students for professional graduate education, including medical school, dental school, veterinarian school, and various PhD programs. Professor Grusendorf is a colleague and a friend, a mentor, a fine, exceptional teacher, and an excellent, excellent researcher. And it's our privilege to present her as the recipient of the 2021 William L. Lomax Award. Kelly, congratulations.
Okay. Thank you so much. So with the short time I have, I want to do a few things. I want to say thank you to a few people, point out a few people. I want to tell a little bit about me and how I got here, right? But I also want to demonstrate probably why I'm getting this award. So I teach in biology, I teach anatomy and physiology. I love all areas of biology. My PhD work is in genetics, and I'm fascinated with genetics. And for you to see kind of probably why I won this award, I need to talk about science, right? Science is my passion. As I tell my students, you need to bring out your inner nerd, right? You need to embrace the inner nerd and be happy and excited about it. So I'm going to share two science stories with you as I tell you thank you, and then my story with you. So I love genetics. I find it super duper fascinating to consider how it works, right? You break us down to the simplest level of DNA, right? But you take that mixture of DNA and it makes us, right? My DNA, your DNA is so, so, so similar, but yet we're very different, right? And it's the DNA that makes me have blue eyes, right? Brown hair, and so on. But it's the DNA that also makes me have a nice personality, right? And makes me dedicated towards my career. I'll get there. Because we know, one of my top science kind of things that I share with students is that the environment plays a huge role with how our DNA works, right? There's work that's been shown that you were raised in an environment that's supportive, that's healthy, that's happy, that's encouraging. That person grows up to deal with stress in a better means than other individuals. So thank you to my mom and my dad, right, for first giving me the DNA. And then second, raising me in an environment, right, that allowed for my DNA to change, right, and be modified so that I can handle stressful situations well and follow the path that I took. Always encouraging, always supportive along my path. Another big reason why I got into genetics is because I have a twin sister, right? Right there. My twin sister we're fraternal, so they say that we're not any more similar than just a brother-sister or sister-sister. I beg to differ. And I thought it was my goal to figure out how is it that me and my twin sister are closer related and more cool with our DNA, right, compared to other siblings. And it shows that the environment that you're raised in, the environment that you grow up in, right, plays a huge factor in how you are determined, right? So yes, so to my sister, thank you. Thank you for your continual support as well. My other science story, right, other science kind of fact is probably my favorite one. So this one has to do with how our body responds to different situations, right? So imagine me, you can look at my legs, right? Pretty pasty, pretty pasty. But if I were to go out in the summer, right, what's gonna happen is that they'll get tanner over time, right? What happens in our body, every time I go outside, every time you go outside, the UV from our sun hits us, right? It hits us and our DNA, right, says, hey, there's some UV here. This isn't good. We should probably protect ourselves, right? Because UV can be damaging. So what happens when you go out in the sun, right, we start making brown pigment. That brown pigment, get ready for it, sits and protects our cells and our DNA, right? So we make that on purpose. It's not to look good in a swimsuit, right? It's not good to look look good in the dress. That brown pigment is to protect us. It's our DNA that does that, right? And I like to think of that as kind of an analogy, right, of what we have at UD. We're setting up an environment that helps things thrive, right? That helps things do well. Coming to UD 6 years ago now, it was the perfect place for me, right, for multiple reasons. Within the Department of Natural and Applied Sciences, right, I had great faculty members. Rasika, my number one girl, right, welcomed me with open arms and plenty of material and supplies so that I could get students into the research lab right away, right? So she let me borrow all the enzymes, borrow all the material I could, right, to help me and help the students, right? Jerry, my role model, Jerry, my mentor, the person that I go to for all my questions until he tells me that I can't anymore. Adam Hoffman, who's not here tonight, but Adam Hoffman, I think of Adam Hoffman as my dopamine release. So dopamine, what happens in your brain is that whenever you get excited or happy, right, you get this rush of dopamine. And if anyone knows Adam Hoffman, you know that if you see him in the hallway, you're gonna get a rush of dopamine, right? Very happy person, very encouraging, very supportive, right? So thank you to them. Then across the campus, right, great coworkers, right, Michelle Grace, one of my closest friends that welcomed me with open arms day one. To other people, to other faculty, to other admissions, right, Dr. Mark Ward, thank you for the support and the encouragement. President Bullock, same, thank you for the support and encouragement as well. Thank you to the Board of Trustees and everyone else. Joe and Linda Clapity, especially thank you to you. Thank you for the support that you provide to our students, especially within the sciences, to get these amazing opportunities so that they can progress and thrive, right, in these different environments. They've given this, you've given the setting so that students that I work with, right, they work with the CDC, right? So we study Lyme disease. They work directly with the CDC from Dubuque, Iowa, right? And it's because of these research experiences. Students get into dental programs, they get into PhD programs because of these experiences, right? The environment at UD that we have for that. They become amazing high school biology teachers, right? They come in, right, and one of the biggest things, and one of my favorite things, is that students come in, but we provide an environment to let them think like scientists, right? They have the capability to ask the questions, right? But then they ask the questions, and then we allow them to answer those questions, right? And they do the research to do that. I couldn't be at a better place to do what I do, my passion of teaching and education, and then in the sciences. So thank you again. Thank you for everyone for coming, right? And thank you for the award.
Kelly didn't take the notes either. Now, this next award, our final award, is an award that we only give with periodically. I believe it's been 2009 since we last gave this award. And we're privileged this evening to give this award to Phyllis Garfield, Director of International Student Services and Study Abroad. The Alumni Distinguished Teaching and Service Award is only given on occasion, and as I've mentioned, has not been presented in this form since 2009. It is an award that is given to individuals whose primary vocation at the University of Dubuque is something other than teaching. It is true that these recipients teach often, more often, very often in fact, in the classroom. But as importantly, it is often the case that these individuals often teach us in ways that are subtle and quiet, but are undoubtedly a significant part of the glue that makes a place like UD so special. Phyllis Garfield, the 2021 recipient of the Alumni Distinguished Teaching and Service Award, is that kind of a person. I don't recall precisely when Phyllis officially became an employee of the University of Dubuque. Though we always try to be very conscientious with our resources, Phyllis began working at the university long before she was paid for that work. In those years, we were extremely hard-pressed. I mean, we were really hard-pressed. But Phyllis dug in, utilized her expertise in international education and all that goes with it, complemented by her gift of hospitality, and she created a warm and welcoming environment for our international students and their families, a home away from their home. Phyllis's official title is Director of International and Student Services and Study Abroad, but her unofficial titles reign supreme, ranging from mom to friend to colleague in this wonderful mission and work. Phyllis, thank you for sharing yourself with this campus community, for sharing your home with so many hundreds and hundreds of students, for sharing your love and hospitality with those students and their families. Their experience at UD was better and deeper because of you. And so it is with deep appreciation that we recognize your service this evening by conferring upon you the Alumni Distinguished Teaching and Service Award. Phyllis Garfield will be next.
Thank you, Dr. Bullock. There is a somewhat indelicate old Irish saying that for some of us, our bladder tends to be too close to our eyes. And so I may need to apologize in advance for my Irish heritage. But thank you, President Bullock, members of the Board of Trustees, and all of our UD family. And thank you especially to the Sverluga family for their generosity in hosting this event for so many years. Recently, I ran across an article in my Save to Read for Later file that introduced the idea of intercultural wonderment as an indicator of success in study abroad. What an interesting phrase. It sounds more fanciful than academic. The authors define this as the unique combination of curiosity and courage that can enable a person to seek out and engage experiences, people, or cultures outside their own zone of familiarity. They observe that this quality, while more natural in some than others, can also be developed. Not surprisingly, they observe that intercultural wonderment is positively correlated with successful and meaningful study abroad experience. Their study further noted that intercultural wonderment is fostered by a home campus that offers opportunities to interact with diverse others, as well as by caring faculty and staff who nurture this in their students. That we can make a difference for our students should not be surprising, but it is always encouraging to have that assumption reinforced and defined. And though this article referenced study abroad, I would suggest that the same is true for our international students. Coming to a new culture with curiosity and the courage to examine new ideas and engage folks we haven't met before is directly correlated to our perception of a successful experience. Particularly, we can engage this skill through the opportunities we offer on campus and the caring encouragement we provide as staff and faculty. I hope we can all carry this forward. We need to be brave and curious to try new things. We need to nurture this in our students, both inbound and outbound. The reward will be a campus community filled with more opportunities for and more appreciation of the development of a globally engaged community. We have only to look at the news to see the danger of the opposite. Fear of the other is the root of so many disturbing events right now, both within and beyond our own national borders. We can't fix it all, but we can, as the rabbis say, make a beginning. For 42 years, I've been married to a man whose passion is encouraging this kind of intercultural wonderment in his students, and it's been exhilarating to be part of that adventure. We're a team. I couldn't be more grateful for the life that we've built together. To our wonderful children, Elliot and Becca, Megan, Chaim, and Carly and Andy, who have all wholeheartedly embraced intercultural wonderment and its many possibilities, we have only love and gratitude for the many blessings you've brought into our lives. And to those blessings, our grandsons, Jensen and Leo, your energy keeps us young at heart. And I'm guessing we'll all be running to keep up with your dad and your Zadie for years to come. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so.
Well, let's give all of our recipients another round of applause. Thank you. Well, as we end this evening, I've invited two people to help close this out. I've invited the chair of our board, Joseph Kalapity, to please offer some closing remarks. Normally, this is the time when Dick Sverluka offers those remarks, and Joe's graciously agreed to help us out in that way. I've also invited Bill Sverluka to offer the benediction this evening. Now, what's funny about this is he said, sure. He said, how do you do a benediction? And I said, well, you know, we've got a seminary here, and you could probably learn how to do it very well in all of its nuanced forms. But I said a prayer and amen would suffice. And so, Chairman Kalapity, will you please begin closing this out? And let's welcome the chair of our board, Joseph Kalapity.
Thank you. You know, it's a little awkward being up here. I haven't done this before, but, you know, I was looking at the program, and as Jeff mentioned, I didn't realize that we had begun this in 1996. And that's 25 years ago. And this is the 25th award. Even though we didn't hold a ceremony last year, there were 25 years of awards being given out. And when I think back over all those years, I've been on the Board of Trustees since 1992, you know, so much has changed at the University of Dubuque over this period of time. When I think back to 1996, we were really at a critical juncture, and the future of the school was really uncertain, very uncertain. Now, I might note that in 1996, Jeff Bullock came to the University of Dubuque as Dean of the Seminary at the ripe old age of 36. Since that time, we have experienced countless improvements on the UD campus, including dramatically improved campus buildings, enhanced academic offerings, and significant growth in enrollment and endowment. But there's one constant that has remained steady throughout this period, and that's the dedication of our faculty. This is what this evening is all about. We are living in a tumultuous and divisive time in our country's history. Our faculty, supported by the administration, is steadfast in creating a culture that enables our students to leave UD and live a purposeful life. I truly believe our best days as a beacon of hope and stability remain ahead of us. Now, I enjoy coming to this each year because it's nostalgic for me. Bill Sverluga and Dick Sverluga and I were in school together. Bill graduated in 1966. I graduated in 1968. And Dick, I guess he's watching here, graduated, hi Dick, graduated in 1971. But when I think back of all these gatherings and all that has evolved over the course of time, we have this table that gathers each year, and I don't know if anyone else knows this, but Florence Lomax, the daughter of Bill Lomax, is here this evening, so I'd like to give her a round of applause. So there's this bond that exists, I'd say, with the Clappettys and the Sverlugas. And this really goes back, we're from the Chicago area, the three of us. We played football at Dubuque under Owen Evans. And the last thing, your name again? Kelly. You really brought to my attention the role of DNA here. And not only do we have an assimilation of heritage of being from Chicago, playing football, being here at the same time, but we have a cultural heritage of having a strong connection through being Croatian. Interesting, huh? Get ready, Linda. Now, you've got to realize that this is a proud trio of us that have talked about our Croatian ties and heritage over the years. And I've told this story to Bill and Dick several times, that growing up when I was about 11 years old, and perhaps it goes through this DNA thing, Kelly, but I had an uncle when I was about 11, 12 years old. His name was Uncle Steve, and he said, Joey, he said, you know that the Croatians are God's chosen people. I said, are you sure, Uncle Steve? I said, you know, Joe. He says, I am absolutely certain. I said, well, how do you know this? He says, well, just get the Bible. Open it up to the book of Genesis, and what does it say? In the beginning, God created the world. You know, Linda's heard that joke so many times. Do we have time for one more? Who wants to hear one more? Might as well tell them both, Linda. Now, the one thing you'll realize about Eastern European names is the last names are all consonants. Sverluga, S-V-R-L. Get the picture here? You know, Clappety, C-H-L. You know, these Eastern European, for whatever reason, they're all consonants. Well, it reminds me of a story. Linda and I live outside of Columbus, Ohio. Linda's already looking up at the ceiling. She's saying, here we go again. And there's this story of Woody Hayes. We're from Ohio, so Woody Hayes, the old coach at Ohio State, you know, he was aware of the change in kicking styles that took place. Place kicking, you know, back in the 70s, you know, the old Lou Groza, kick it straight ahead, you know, was prominent. But then the soccer style kickers came into prominence. And a lot of these, I forget which team had the first one. It was like Giro Yepremian or whatever, you know, the soccer style kicker. So Woody said, I'm going to stay ahead of this curve, and I'm going to bring over one of these young men from Eastern Europe to kick for us. And he did. And I don't remember the exact name. So he brought him over, and he was doing a great job for the Buckeyes. I mean, he was kicking extra points and field goals, 45, 50 yards, doing extremely well. And then he started to miss them. He started to miss field goals. He started to miss extra points. And Woody became concerned. He said, I figure I know what's wrong. He said, the young man probably he needs glasses. He has an eyesight problem. So Woody sent him down to the optometry school at OSU to get his eyes examined. Well, you know, you've all had your eyes examined by the optometrist. You go into that room, you sit in the chair, they darken the room, and they put that white rectangle up on the wall, right? You know, they put that up there. And invariably they put, you know, rows of letters on it. And invariably, those letters are all consonants. D, L, V, C, D, X. And so the doctor said to the kid, son, can you read the first line? He goes, read it, heck, that's my cousin. You know? Sorry, Jeff. Bill, you're up next. Sorry. I mean, what can you say? Oh. Well, let me check my notes here. Well, first of all and last of all, I want to honor a special shout out to my brother Dick and his wife Donna, unfortunately deceased. Had the vision 25 years ago to create this, and it's been simply wonderful. Wonderful in the sense that it's honored the lifeblood of this institution. I mean, the literal soul and heart. It has. And so we are proud to be with all of you that are receiving the honors tonight, because we wouldn't be here if you weren't there inspiring the students that you inspire to do what they do. And even more so in these days of great turbulence in our society and struggles and divisions, your work is even more important. So thank you, and keep up the great work. So let me, if I could, relative to the assignment, I've made a few notes. So please join me in a closing moment of prayer, if you would, and thanksgiving as we end our time together. Thank you, God, for the many, many blessings you have bestowed on this, the University of Dubuque. So very many of those blessings in this room tonight. We continue to pray for the unfolding knowledge of your will for us and the power to carry it out. We give you particular thanks this evening for the five recipients of the Dr. Knox, Coit, Lomax, and Excellence Awards in Teaching. People that are living examples of your caring and love for students and others in the community. May God bless these 5 people and all that labor in your work at this, the University of Dubuque. Amen.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thanks, Joe. And everyone, thank you. What a wonderful evening. And it's just so good to see everybody. So thank you. God bless. Stay healthy. And board members, we start work early in the morning. So have a safe evening, get some rest, and have a great day tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.